All right, so happy International Women's Day to all the women who are watching the show this morning. All right, so let's have a conversation around that. You've seen the video there. Naitore Mathenge is joining me in studio. She is from Equality Now. She's also a human rights lawyer. Thank you so much for joining us on News Center.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Happy, International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to you too, and to all women all over the world.
Yes. So now this day is just really a start to, a celebration that's going to really take place, in the next coming weeks until the 31st of March, the whole month.
Yeah.
What do you think of this day as a woman?
First, I think it's a great day for all women because it gives us a moment or a time to go through our scorecard. Where have we been? Where are we in terms of women's rights, in terms of our civil rights, in terms of our work, in terms of marginalization, discrimination of women. And all I can say is that though the picture looks a bit grim, we have very good and positive results, and there has been massive progress in as far as the rights of women are concerned.
Let's talk about the massive successes that you're talking about. Yes. A lot of people might argue that, there's really little to celebrate. I mean, look at how, the two-third gender rule is being handled in Parliament. Nothing has really been solidly done about it. Is there really a lot of things to celebrate about this day?
Yes, there are, and we cannot not celebrate, despite that we've not achieved what we ought to achieve. First of all, for me, I look at the laws that we have even in Kenya, in this country, as a progress. It's such a huge progress that we have a constitution of Kenya, the supreme law of the land, recognizing that at least we need to have the two-thirds gender principle.
Right.
We may not have achieved it, but for me, the fact that it's benchmarked in the law, it means that at a certain point we will.
Yeah.
I'm not celebrating the fact that it's been progressive. In fact, I would have wanted it to happen the first time we held our elections after the promulgation of the Constitution. But for me, having it in law is such a great progress. We are having conversations about it. We've gone, many civil society organizations have gone to court. We've sought an advisory opinion from the Attorney General, and I believe in due time it may take a bit longer, but I see whereby we'll have that two-thirds gender representation in Parliament. And again, for me, the issue is not necessarily the two-thirds gender being a women-only issue. We need to enlarge our coverage, and even the people who are championing for this. Let men realize that this is not only a women's only issue, and they should also support women in achieving these two-thirds gender equality rule.
All right.
Yes.
Let's talk about the challenges that women still face right now. You work with a lot of women, in your day-to-day and in your work. What can you say? What cases are you hearing from women so far? Are they the same cases that we used to hear about, sexual violence? Are we still there? Is it as to the large extent that it has always been, or are things improving?
One of the things that has really improved is the reporting.
Okay.
Women are now aware of the systems in place where they can report. They know they can visit the gender and recovery centers that are available. They also know that they need to report to the police. However, the biggest issue has been the system, despite being in place, has also failed women a lot. You see, like at the moment, I think we're in the third month of the doctor's strike.
Right.
If a woman is raped today, and maybe you go to like one of the national hospitals, who is going to attend to you? Who is going to collect that evidence? You're not even going to get the bare minimum post-rape care, post-rape care, whatever, the post-rape care form. Who is going to fill it for you? If you visit some of the police stations where you go to report these cases, the police officer tells you need to pay for the P3 form.
Right.
So some of the issues that we've been fighting for the last 10 years, they are still there. But for me, what gives me hope and confidence is the fact that at least now, women and girls have the knowledge of where they can report. What we need to put our efforts on is on the systems, to strengthen those systems, especially when it comes to reporting to the police, and especially when it comes to going to hospital, because when you're raped, you need to at least go to hospital within 72 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the place of men in in fighting for women's rights. And we've seen quite a number of men coming out strongly and vocally, talking about issues that affect women, largely. Let's even talk about, FGM, female genital mutilation. We've seen even the elders in those communities coming out and speaking against it. What does that do? What is the position of a man, and what power does a man who can, stand up and talk about women have on women's rights as a general conversation?
Yes, a man's voice is very critical in the fight for gender parity, and more so even when you look at harmful practices like FGM.
Yeah.
Equality Now did a documentary, and where they have engaged men in the areas we work with, like in Narok on female genital mutilation. And for sure I can tell you the voice of men who are talking about female genital mutilation and its the negative effect that it has on women has been heard by many. And like men in such a society, they are of influence and their voices are heard for some reason, yeah? Right. Especially in communities whereby we are still very in touch with our traditional cultures, and the council of elders in these areas are well respected. So we cannot undermine the voices of men. For me, we actually need to amplify that voice when it comes to issues that affect women, because we cannot afford to work in isolation as women. We don't live in isolation. In our workplaces, we work with men. At home, we relate with them. So what we need to do is to ensure that we hear more men's voices in all the spaces where we are discussing issues of women, and through that they'll be able to propel women to the limitless potential that they have.
All right.
Yes.
There's a separate conversation, Naitore, that is starting, and it's about the girl child be given so much attention, and then now people have forgotten about the boy child. I mean, even as late as the case of the bullying at Alliance Boys High School, people are saying that, boys are told you can't cry, you can't complain, you can't come out as weak. And there's that conversation that came out that, is the boy child neglected now that, for a long time, the girl child has been given so much attention and so much work that, that is being put, like now from Equality Now or other groups, that everybody's really concentrating on the girls, but the boys are being left behind.
The socialization process has played a huge role when it comes to how men ought to behave, yeah? So I'm sure like those boys who underwent bullying, it took so long for them to report what was happening, to them. So even them, they need a space where they can air out the issues that are affecting them. However, that's not to say that we should stop championing for the rights of women and girls, because they are quite distinct issues when it comes to what women go through and what men go through. They are two separate issues. For me, what I see as a way in which we can also deal with the issues that affect men is that we need to have conversations with them more often, and let just men be allowed to air their issues. This thing of keeping everything in the closet, it's not going to help anyone, because they also suffer abuse. Yes.
So you think, men should talk more?
They should.
Okay.
They should, yes.
Maybe we're the ones who've been talking too loudly and suppressed their voices. But also let's talk about the theme for this year's, International Women's Day. It's, part of it is Be Bold for Change. What does that mean to you as a champion for women's rights?
For me, it means that we need to move away from the norm. As that hashtag says, we need to be bold. We need to think of more innovative, more pragmatic actions and way forward. It means that, like for example, where we felt that maybe we would not to include men, no, we now need to hear men's voices in some of our discussions. Or in cases whereby we've been going to court to get a decision, it's not coming, we need to innovate more ways of dealing with that. But also, for me, it's a very exciting theme. Yeah, and just to underscore the fact that this planet 50-50 by 2030 cannot be achieved when you still have sexual violence, when you still have female genital mutilation, when girls' right to education is not promoted, whereby a girl gets pregnant and she's told you can't come back to school. Yeah. So we need to have very bold and creative. We just need to get out of there. And I'm very inspired by some of the earlier movements where women really dare do things differently. Yes, if we look at some of the women that we had in Kenya, feminists or women who are championing for the rights of women, the likes of Wangari Maathai, they did things that were out of the norm, and we need to borrow a leaf from that.
All right, and talking about being bold and everything,
yes.
Do you think that women have come out from that cocoon of feeling of self-pity, so to speak? Because for a long time, women, and it's across the globe, women consider themselves as the weaker sex, as a weaker gender. Do you think that more and more, we're having women coming out strongly?
Yes, we have. We are seeing more women entrepreneurs. That's a place whereby we didn't used to have so many women. Yeah. And for me, that's a great success. We may not have broken the glass ceiling yet, but we can see women in areas. We have more women engineers, pilots, and also I think in each and every career, we can see women going out there. And it's not easy.
Right.
Like, I know of women who, they don't even have resources, they don't even have an education background, but they have this business idea and they run with it.
Right.
And we've seen some...
also at Hillary Clinton.
Yes, yeah. yes. That's someone who was even bold enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but also women need support. And it starts from our communities and even at home. Because if you're not getting that support from home or even the community where you live in, then the workplace becomes very, very difficult for you, and you cannot concentrate to ensure that you give your very best.
You're fighting some inner fires.
Yes.
All right, finally, let's talk about the women who are in leadership positions. We have them in parliament. Do you think that they've done enough to sort of like, vocalize or echo the issues that women are facing? Of course, we've seen quite a number, maybe one or two, coming out very strongly to talk about women's issues. If it's to do with sanitary pads, provision of sanitary pads to girls in, grassroots level. We've heard that. But do you think that they've done what they possibly could do, especially now that we're heading to the elections? Can they stand proudly and say that we took this cause that affects women or women's rights and we, were able to achieve this?
To be very fair to women, they've really tried in a very hostile environment. I can tell you that for a fact, yeah? And they've also had to play catch up. This being the first time parliament where we have so many women. However, for me, I see an opportunity for in other coming elections or parliaments where women can have a one voice, a united front to ensure that issues of women are articulated. There are women who have come up with excellent bills, like the bill that was proposed by Honorable Florence Mutua. It was such an excellent bill, but just because of misinterpretation and the bias, the fact that this is a woman bringing a motion on sexual violence in parliament, it was shot down, yeah? Even if people had issues with specific clauses, why not amend those clauses? Don't just throw the baby with the bathwater in its entirety.
Yeah, and she was a very disappointed woman because she said that this really did not, people really misinterpreted what you're saying, the bill, and they shot it down, but really it would have helped in so many ways, to avert sexual violence, for both men and women.
Yes, it would have. And for us as Equality Now, that's a bill we were really following up, and we are hoping that it will be enacted because it speaks to the work that we do, especially in Busia County, whereby it provided, at least for county governments, to be actively involved on issues of sexual and gender-based violence. So for me, the bill may not have gone through, but also it gives us an opportunity to monitor and evaluate what else would we have done to ensure such a bill is enacted into law.
All right.
But kudos to her and many other women who have brought bills. Yeah, who've done something in parliament.
All right.
Yes.
Finally, your message to women who are watching and women across the globe as, they celebrate this day, auspicious day.
For me, it's just to wish all women a happy International Women's Day. I tell them to be bold, do something different in your career at home. You have limitless potential that is within you, and I see a better world for women, and let's support each other in everything.
I like that.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Naitore Mathenge. She is a human rights lawyer, but also from Equality Now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
So we want